Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now, today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit and says, am I the arsehole for defending a bride who left her husband at the altar? Okay, so boom, my husband attended a wedding. It was kinda his cousin / niece's wedding. I'm not sure how to describe the relationship, but they were close growing up. The wedding was a bit unique. There was a brunch before the actual ceremony with bride and groom. Then for an hour the wedding party left to get ready while all the guests were still at brunch. Then the actual ceremony and the real reception was supposed to happen after. I thought everything was normal. At the brunch, the couple looked happy and excited, and a little nervous maybe. My husband had told me there had been a little drama leading up to the wedding because the groom's family insisted that the groom's ex should attend the wedding because they have a good relationship. The ex is an EMT, and she apparently saved mother-in-law's life once. The bride didn't want the ex to attend, but she caved in. At the actual ceremony, as you might have guessed from the title, the bride never showed. After a few minutes of awkward silence with the music playing as we waited for the bride's father came and told everyone she left. Groom was crying, mother-in-law was screaming, it was a huge mess. At the reception, they basically just told people to take to-go boxes of food so it didn't go to waste. Since a lot of family was in town for the wedding, bride's side of the family was hosting a reunion. At the reunion, the bride said the reason she left groom at the altar was because at brunch, the ex told her that she slept with the groom and apparently showed the bride a sex tape she made with the groom. Bride was distraught and left because she didn't want to marry a cheater. Groom's side of the family was slandering the bride on every social media platform possible. So bride's side decided to fire back and they were publicly accusing the groom of cheating on her, and it was just a big shitstorm. Groom comes to bride's house to try and clear things up. So the groom didn't actually cheat on the bride. The sex tape was from years and years ago. The groom's appearance just hadn't changed that much, so bride believed the ex when she said it was recent. The ex was just trying to break them up. The ex confessed to it too. To my surprise, instead of everyone being angry at the ex, everyone turned on the bride. Her family was pissed at her for wasting money, being gullible, not letting the groom defend himself first. Everyone was yelling at her. I thought it was crazy, so I spoke up in her defense. I would have believed it too if there was video evidence, plus the fact that she was practically forced into the ex attending their wedding. Now the whole family is against me and the bride, and it's so awkward and everyone acting cold. My husband is upset because he now feels like if someone accused him of cheating on me, I'd just take their word for it, but I feel that's completely unfair. In the comments, Ghost Pepper says sounds like the groom's family still likes his ex more and wanted her at the wedding for that purpose. Otherwise, they wouldn't be acting so stupid and putting the blame all on the bride to be. Acceptable Pop says, this is exactly it. I would 200% end the wedding if someone told me my wife's ex was basically being forced on me to show up. Mother-in-law knows she fucked up and everyone knows it's not the bride's fault, but it's easier to gang up on the bride than actually deal with their BS. Beth says sounds like the groom has been having an affair and threatened to cut off ex if she didn't say it was a lie. I'd be putting my Columbo hat on to look at the metadata for that tape. It sounds like husband is now seeing the cracks in the story, so I doubt he'll let it go if they're close. Whether it was true or not, that wedding was not happening as soon as ex stepped in. No one was getting married that day once she said it, even if the groom refuted it immediately. Lou Fairy says, so what's going to happen? Are they going to get married or is she walking away? I don't know how I would deal with in-laws like that. Opie says, I'm in my hotel room right now and I feel a bit awkward texting her about it being nosy. I'm gonna wait till things calm down a bit or I'll just ask my husband when he comes back. Library Mouse says the fault lies with the mother-in-law for insisting on the ex coming and the ex for lying to break them up. Mother-in-law was probably behind the lie as well and got what she wanted, which was for them to split. Anyone defending the mother-in-law or ex should be ashamed. Ex is an EMT. I should go to a job and report her behavior. What she did has nothing to do with the job, but it shows bad character. Bride should also sue the ex for the cost of the wedding. She intentionally caused the problem that ended the wedding, so she should pay for it. Outraged Pineapple says, not the arsehole. I don't understand at all how she's getting blamed when the ex orchestrated this whole thing, admitted to it, and shouldn't have been there at all. The bride asked for her not to be there, but they steamrolled her, which would have been enough for me to cancel the whole thing, and decided that she needed to be there anyway. Then when the ex lies and causes all this chaos, they're blaming the bride, not her, and not the mother-in-law for demanding that the ex be there. They're trying to redirect their own guilt, and it's pathetic. I hope she doesn't take fiancé back and cuts ties with all these idiots blaming her, because she deserves better, and I hope the ex and mother-in-law rot. One more comment from OK Minimum, who says, I mean, this is all a bit suspicious still. If I was the bride, I still wouldn't rush into marriage with him. I'd want to see the dates on that video as proof, which I'm sure you'll be able to do on a phone, which I'm assuming this was taken on. Also, if I'd just been shown a sex tape of my soon-to-be husband, then I'd still need time to recover from that before marrying him. He knew she didn't want the ex at the wedding, but allowed mother-in-law to bully her into it. I'd need boundaries put in place there. The fact that everyone is attacking her and it feels like he's not doing enough to throw them off her back. Yeah, she's getting a glimpse into her future. She's not just marrying him, but his family, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. Either way, she's made the right choice not to marry him today. Serious change needs to happen before she makes that commitment. Yeah, and all the way I was thinking about this is like, fuck mother-in-law for one. She sounds like a right piece of work, and one of those nightmare MILs that we see in these stories that potentially has her son wrapped around her little finger. Also, fiancé in this, while he may be innocent in the fact that, this is an old sex tape or whatever, not putting your foot down about your ex not being there when your fiancé's uncomfortable with it, that's wild in itself. But OP adds their first mini update within the same post and says, okay, so my hubby came back to the hotel room and I showed him the post because he knows I like using Reddit. I mentioned a specific comment to him where one Redditor asked me, are we sure the tape was old and the groom and ex aren't just covering up their affair by lying and saying it's old? I told my husband and at first he laughed, but started to think about the whole situation, I guess. Well, hubby was still at the bride's house trying to help with the situation after I left. The environment was getting too much for me, so I went back to the hotel. The groom had been groveling to the bride. Even though he was exonerated by ex admitting it was fake, he was still being very apologetic, which threw my husband off a bit. Like, even though he maintained he didn't cheat, instead of husband being angry about being left at the altar and publicly humiliated, he seemed to just want his wife to forgive him. I thought this would be normal because groom probably feels horrible about allowing the ex to ruin the day and hurt the wife like that, but my husband said it was unusual behavior for the groom. Apparently, the groom is the high horse type and he would never apologize for a mistake that wasn't his. Husband knows the groom better than me, so my husband thinks it's plausible that the groom did cheat by the way he's acting, but he's not going to bring it up because of how high tensions are, and it might just make things worse. I also explained how and why I felt like my husband was being unfair to me by saying he thinks I'd believe anyone who accused him of cheating on me. He apologized and told me he was just stressed out earlier. He feels like we wasted money on this trip and went and maybe not seen our kids for days over this wedding that got blown up over a lie. Bride texts me thanking me for defending her. Most of the slandering social media posts were taken down. The ex posted on social media playing victim. Well, not really, but she's posting like heartbreak stuff and those fucking depressed Bart Simpson memes at her big age. The groom's mother pulled up to the bride's house after I left and was threatening to burn the place down. Because she was mad, the bride humiliated her son over a lie because it was such a huge wedding. He had many of his co-workers and stuff there. I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm tired and it's been a long ass day. Edit plus question. A few people are saying I should show this post to the bride, but I'm a bit scared she won't react well to me putting her business online because I don't know her that well. But at the same time, I feel like she might appreciate most people are on her side. But also, I don't really want her to see my conspiracy theory about how the husband actually cheated on her because there's no actual proof. Should I? But OP then comes in with their second update and says, okay, so I decided to send this to the bride. I also told my mother-in-law, who I'm super close with, what was going on. I'll start with the bride first. So, as I predicted, she was a little mad I put her business online. I called her and we made small talk for a couple of minutes, avoiding the elephant, but then I told her I posted about this on Reddit. I sent her the link while we were in call. She didn't yell or anything, but she told me I shouldn't have done that. I assured her I didn't use any names or defining descriptions, and she hung up the phone. A few minutes later, she called me back and told me she scrolled through the comments and stuff and it made her feel better. Then she apologized for snapping at me, but I don't feel like she did. She told me that she felt like a lot of the comments were blowing things out of proportion when it comes to how you guys speak of the mother-in-law and groom. She said mother-in-law isn't evil like the post made her out to be. What? Threatening to burn the house down? Anyway, she also said she understands why mother-in-law insisted on X being at the wedding, and that when mother-in-law threatened to burn the house down, she wasn't being serious and it was taken out of context. When I asked stuff like, are you still going to get married to groom? She just kept saying, I don't know, and she sounded sad, so I dropped it. She also told me she doesn't think groom cheated on her and that my husband just had a bad perception of groom because he has a hard shell to crack. After we hung up, me and my husband called his mother to update her on what was happening because she couldn't make it to the wedding. My husband's mother told us that the ex never really saved mother-in-law's life. Basically, all she did was inject her with an EpiPen for a mild allergy. My mother-in-law feels like saying she saved her life was just for dramatics to guilt the bride into letting ex attend the wedding. My mother-in-law also feels like the bride's mother-in-law had nothing to do with the ex sabotaging the wedding. She said that the bride's mother-in-law isn't an idiot, and even if she did love the ex that much, she would never purposely ruin her son's wedding because she's one of those boy mums. Oh no shit. I feel for the bride in this. She's trying to excuse this behavior like she's normally not like that. Isn't evil. Regardless if you're taking it that threatening to burn the house down wasn't serious, it's not a normal thing to say. To me, the whole story just felt like mother-in-law prefers the ex over OP. I'm sorry to say that, OP, but it just feels like that in this story. And previous stories that we've read, it usually comes down to that. And there's something going on in the background between mother-in-law and ex to potentially break them up like that. But to do that on a wedding day, wow, to do it any day is madness. But to do it on the wedding day? Lady says after that update, not the arsehole, that poor bride is trying to find an excuse to not believe that mother-in-law is evil. I feel so bad for her. Away understanding says, ugh, the groom should have been the one to put his foot down on not inviting the ex. The fact that he didn't kind of tells me he wants the ex around. I think mother-in-law picked up on that and might be trying to get them back together. This bride needs to run for the hills. The commenter says, oh, that poor bride is going to stay with that guy and live a life of misery. Creative Color says, injecting someone with an EpiPen is saving their life. There is literally no such thing as a mild allergy. You're either allergic or you are not. You may be desensitized, making reactions less severe for the most part. The severity of the reaction has a lot to do with what's going on with your immune system at the time. People need to educate themselves on what anaphylaxis is because it's not just a breathing thing. The definition has changed. May you never have a child or partner if you yourself develop an allergy. Wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And the final comment said, you're the arsehole, busybody inserting yourself in other people's drama from the start. Find your own shit to do and leave these people alone. I find that such a weird take, you know, you're on the Am I the Arsehole subreddit reading about other people's stuff that's going on in their lives, which, you know, generally because of the nature of the post is dramatic in nature. You're saying, get out of that drama. Madness. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now our next story does come with an update as well. It's from Fancy Yard 802 who says, am I the arsehole here for laughing when my aunt told my stepmom that being depressive doesn't make you sleep with a married man? Sorry for the long title. I really had no idea what title to explain the situation. My first language is Spanish. Long story short, 2 years ago my father left my mother to go with his mistress, whom I will call Anna. Common name. My mother never had any idea about the infidelity. Anna knew that my father was married. She even went to the house with him to take his things. One day he simply told my mother that he is no longer in love with her and wants to be happy with Anna. I was there when everything happened. Anna was depressed. She has many scars on her legs and arms. I don't go to my father's house, it makes me uncomfortable to be around them for obvious reasons. Anna is overly nice and it's really uncomfortable. A few days ago, it was my grandfather's birthday, and the whole family was together, including Anna. I have an aunt who suffers from depression and other more heavy things like schizophrenia. She has tried to hurt herself many times. At one point in the night, there was only my father, my aunt, Anna, and another aunt and I in the living room. For some reason, my aunt and Anna were talking about some serious things, and at one point, Anna began to say that depression made her do many things that trying to feel fulfilled. That she could only overcome depression when she met my father, and he saved her. That meeting him was like the key to overcome her depression, and now she's finally happy thanks to him. I know about that because Anna often tried to bond with me by telling me how much she suffered in her life and how my father saved her. She's always justified herself that she was depressed and was in a hard place in her life before my father saved her. It always makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't feel empathy for her no matter how sweet she is. Talking about how many times you try to kill yourself in front of my 8-year-old sister is not something normal. Anna has always tried to paint her relationship with my father as a fairy tale that began in a different way, but she doesn't regret anything because her world is perfect now. At that moment, my aunt said something like, "I tried to save myself by going to a psychologist, not by jumping on the dick of a married man." And then she began to say that depression made her want to jump off a bridge, but not ruin a family. I just laughed. It was funny. My aunt may have had her mind elsewhere all day, but it was crazy to see her make such a sly comment. But when my father was taking me home, Anna was crying and he scolded me for laughing at what my aunt said, saying that no one knows everything that Anna suffered. I know, she always talks about that. I didn't apologize, but now I think, was I really wrong to laugh? From my point of view, my aunt was right. As someone myself who's gone through depression, I never want to say gone through because I always feel like it's always there on the edges, but went to the doctors dealing with it, sertraline, all that sort of stuff. Had some pretty dark thoughts in my time, low moods, completely stopped gaming at one point because I just didn't feel like doing it, and sometimes just didn't want to do anything at all. And of course, I feel for anyone who's going through that and self-harm, etc., etc. But it truly does feel that Anna's just trying to justify what she did here. There's no talking about the family that she and the husband broke up. There's no talk about the mother in this situation and what her mental health is right now. Again, I don't know the full ins and outs, but for your husband to just leave you for someone like that, it's going to be painful. And who knows what that mother's going through mentally. She may have just put mental issues onto someone else. And the way OP explained it, it just says she talks a lot of me stuff. Again, trying to justify it. And if I'm being completely honest, if I heard the aunt say that, I would have pissed myself laughing. Brutal, possibly, but I'm only human. It would have made me chuckle. As we always say, mental health, or whatever it is, isn't an excuse to be an arsehole. Tarzan Kitty says not the arsehole. Your aunt was 100% right, and pretty much any person on the planet would have laughed. You should have asked them if they have any clue how much their selfish choices caused you and your mum to suffer. Hope you respond saying, honestly, in the past I've argued with them about it, but Anna always cries and my father says it's cruel to tell her that. At this point I prefer to ignore them. Okay, Patient says, not the arsehole. You don't just get better from a depression because you get into a relationship. And if it's contingent on a relationship, then you need serious help. She knew your father was married and had a family. If she truly didn't know, saying those things would get her a weird look considering how their relationship started. Either way, it isn't something Anna should be attempting to connect with her affair partner / now husband's child with. Anna suffered, but so did the rest of the family from your father's betrayal. But do they care about that? Nah. Anna played a stupid game And surprise, surprise, she got a stupid prize. Your father. Ooh, spicy. Yeah, and on the back of that comment as well, when I said about the mother and what she's going through mentally, and what Opie's going through mentally, and other members of the family as well, that father, Anna, destroyed. Finding Fit says not the arsehole. She's just trying to use it as an excuse to make it feel like it was a valid reason to get into a relationship with a married man. Bojack Trashman says absolutely. It's the sort of behavior has nothing to do with depression, as evidenced by myself and many other people on here who suffer from chronic mental health issues but have not slept with someone married, let alone someone married with kids. If she weren't depressed, she'd be using something else to justify this behavior, because the type of person who does this is selfish and will do it no matter what. Her feelings are the only feelings that matter. In a few years, the dad will be full of deep regret. And a final comment from Wary Scientist, who says not the arsehole. Your aunt didn't say anything untrue. While I've certainly done stupid stuff as a result of trauma and severe depression, I don't go around justifying my choices, because there is no mistaking that they were my choices. The depression made me want to stay in bed all day or run my car into oncoming traffic. Trauma made me choose to do stupid things, so at least I was in control of what was happening. Either way, none of it was okay. I would never try to justify it, especially if I hurt people with those actions. Anna chose to break a family apart and now wants people to feel bad for her about it. So OP comes in with her update and says, hello, some things happened over the weekend. My aunt came home, I live with my mother, and told my mum what happened. My mother hates my dad for obvious reasons, but still she's been really nice to him and tried to keep us out of all those problems they have. My mother is honestly a saint. My sister is an 8-year-old girl and she really hates Anna. Anna once tried to get along with my sister and told her about the times she wanted to commit suicide and how my dad saved her. After that, my sister came home asking my mother if she had ever thought about committing suicide. That's not a question an 8-year-old girl should ask, and my sister even asked me questions about suicide after that. I don't really know what exactly Anna said to her, but it definitely affected her as a little girl. It's not even something you should talk about with a girl of that age. My mother was furious, and since that day she forbids my father to have my younger sister near Anna, as she considers her a dangerous and unstable person around children. Since that day, things have been really tense between my father and mother. My sister doesn't want to visit our father, so she is fine with this. My aunt told my mother that Anna talked about it again, but this time in front of me. Apparently my father and Anna were totally forbidden to talk about these things in front of me too. I'm not a little kid, but apparently that was the arrangement my mother made with my father when she set boundaries for them. My aunt told her what happened that day, and I confessed to my mother that Anna and my father talk a lot about those suicide attempts in front of me, which is something I should have talked about before, but at that moment I didn't want problems and decided to just ignore them. I told my mum that for that reason I'm not going to my father's house anymore. My mother got very upset with him. The next day, she went to talk to my father. I don't know what they talked about. She just came back saying that Anna can't get close to us anymore. She told me that she can't forbid me from being near my father, and that's my decision. But Anna is extremely forbidden to set foot in the same place where I and my sister are. My paternal grandparents agreed and my aunts too. They knew about the situation with my younger sister. I haven't spoken to my father, but my cousin told me that my father argued with my grandfather. He often says that Anna is a good person and we don't understand the pain she suffered. So I guess he's upset with all of us now for our great lack of empathy, as he always says. I don't know. At least now I won't see them for a while. It was a boring update, but that's what happened. Not a boring update at all, that's life, and fair play to your mum for stepping in and protecting you and your sister. And it sounds like your dad just wants to be this kind of hero in some ways, but in doing so he's enabling the behavior. So I think what your mum is doing in this situation is absolutely the right thing to be doing. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so, so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.